you ever heard the story of the world's strongest man? A man who could rip a lion apart with his bare hands, brought to his knees by one woman. This isn't just a legend, it's the ultimate tale of love, betrayal, and a very, very bad haircut. This is the story of Samson and Delilah. Our story begins with Samson, a man set apart from birth. He was a Nazirite, chosen by God, and his uncut hair was the secret source of his incredible, almost unbelievable strength. He was a champion for his people, the Israelites, a one-man army against their enemies, the Philistines. He once killed 1,000 men with nothing but the jawbone of a donkey. Imagine that. He was a living superhero, a force of nature, a legend in his own time. The Philistines were terrified of him, and they were desperate to find his weakness. But every superhero has a weakness, and for Samson, it wasn't a glowing green rock. It was his weakness for beautiful women. After a series of complicated relationships, Samson laid his eyes on a woman in the valley of Sorek. Her name was Delilah. The moment he saw her, he was captivated. She was enchanting, her voice like honey, her presence intoxicating. Samson, the strongest man on earth, was utterly smitten. He fell head over heels, completely and hopelessly in love. Now the Philistine rulers saw their chance. They were powerful, rich men, but they were powerless against Samson. When they heard he was spending all his time with Delilah, a plan began to form. They went to her in secret, their pouches heavy with silver. They made her an offer she couldn't refuse. "Find out the secret to his great strength," they whispered, "and how we can overpower him. If you do this for us, each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Think about that. This was a fortune, enough money to live like a queen for the rest of her life. Delilah was faced with a choice: loyalty to the man who loved her, or a life of unimaginable wealth. The temptation was immense. Was her love for Samson genuine, or was the allure of silver too strong to resist? Delilah accepted their offer. The game was on. She began to work on Samson using the one weapon he couldn't fight: his love for her. One evening as they were together, she looked at him with pleading eyes. "Tell me," she cooed, "what makes you so strong? What would it take to tie you up and subdue you?" Samson, still confident, decided to play along. He was the strongest man alive after all. What harm could a little game do? He told her, "If they tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that haven't been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man." So Delilah got the bowstrings. While Samson was sleeping, she tied him up tightly. The Philistine soldiers were hiding nearby, ready to pounce. Delilah then cried out, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." Samson woke up, and with a single flex of his muscles, he snapped the bowstrings as if they were threads of yarn. He just laughed it off. It was a game, right? But Delilah wasn't laughing. She felt foolish. She pouted, accusing him of making fun of her. "You lied to me," she said, her voice filled with feigned hurt. "Please, tell me the real secret. How can you be tied up?" Samson, still blinded by his affection, gave her another false answer. "If they tie me securely with new ropes that have never been used, then I'll become weak." So Delilah got the new ropes. Again, while he slept, she bound him. Again the soldiers hid in the next room. And again she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." Just like before, he snapped the ropes from his arms as if they were nothing. The second attempt had failed. Now Delilah was getting frustrated, but she was also persistent. She turned up the drama. She cried. She accused him of not truly loving her. "How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me?" She wept. "This is the 3rd time you've made a fool of me." This went on day after day. She nagged him. She pressured him, wearing him down with her words and her tears. Imagine the strongest man in the world being mentally and emotionally exhausted by this constant questioning. His love for her was a battlefield, and he was losing. Finally, worn down and tired of her relentless pleas, Samson made the biggest mistake of his life. He caved. He looked into her eyes and decided to tell her everything. "My hair has never been cut," he confessed, his voice heavy. "It's been this way since the day I was born. I am a Nazirite, dedicated to God. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me. I would become as weak as any other man. He had given her the key to his soul, the very source of his identity and power. He trusted her completely. Delilah knew this time he was telling the truth. The game was over. She immediately sent a message to the Philistine rulers. "Come up one more time," she said. "He has told me everything." That night, she lulled Samson to sleep with his head in her lap. It was a tender, intimate moment, but it was laced with the coldest betrayal. While he slept, dreaming perhaps of their future together, she called in a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. As the last lock fell to the floor, it was as if his life force drained away. Then, for the final time, she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He woke up, still groggy from sleep, and thought, "I'll go out as I did before and shake myself free." But he didn't know that his strength was gone. He didn't know that the Lord had left him. This time, when the Philistines seized him, he couldn't fight back. He was just a man, ordinary and helpless. What happened next was brutal. They gouged out his eyes, leaving him blind and broken. The man who had once been a symbol of power and freedom was now a prisoner, chained and forced to grind grain in a mill like an animal. He was humiliated, a public spectacle for the people who once feared him. Delilah, with her silver, was nowhere to be seen. She had vanished from the story, her betrayal complete. But the story doesn't end there. In that dark prison, something began to happen. Day by day, week by week, Samson's hair began to grow back. The Philistines, in their arrogance, didn't notice or didn't care. They decided to hold a great festival to celebrate their victory, making sacrifices to their god, Dagon, for delivering Samson into their hands. Thousands of Philistines gathered in their temple, drinking and celebrating. To add to their amusement, they called for Samson to be brought out to entertain them. The blind, broken champion was led into the massive temple, positioned between the 2 central pillars that supported the entire roof. The crowd jeered and mocked him. But as he stood there, feeling the weight of the stone pillars on either side of him, Samson prayed one last time. It wasn't a prayer for freedom or for his sight to be restored. It was a prayer for revenge. "Sovereign Lord," he whispered, "remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just one more time, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." He placed one hand on each of the central pillars. He pushed with a final cataclysmic burst of divinely restored strength. The pillars cracked, the foundation trembled, and the entire temple came crashing down. Samson, along with thousands of his enemies, was buried in the rubble. In his death, he defeated more Philistines than he ever had in his entire life. It's a tragic story, a story of a man with extraordinary gifts who was undone by ordinary desires, a story of love that was twisted into the ultimate betrayal. Samson's strength was legendary, but it was his heart that proved to be his greatest vulnerability. And Delilah? She got her silver, but she's remembered forever as the woman who sold out the world's strongest man. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic tales from history. See you next time.